Star Trek, the ultimate franchise. These are the voyages of 3 veteran Trekkies, Rich, Ian, and Toby. Their ongoing mission? To explore the vast Star Trek universe, to seek out new perspectives and fresh debates, to boldly go where no podcast has gone before. Beyond the Final Frontier.
Hello and welcome to Beyond the Final Frontier, a Star Trek podcast with me, your host, Rich Matthews, and my fellow journeyers across the Star Trek galaxies, Mr. Ian Spelling.
Hey everybody.
And Mr. Toby Weidman.
Hello.
So in this episode, we are going to move from the, I say small screen, but they're not so small anymore, not really, to rank the Star Trek movies. Which for me is an important ranking because the movies are how I got into Star Trek. So they're very, very dear to my heart, as they are also to my fellow presenters. So as ever, I will kick off. Now, I'm going to mention up top that Section 31 technically counts as a Star Trek film, but it's not in my list. How do you feel about that, gents?
It's on my list as the worst. Let's just get it out of the way. It is a movie. The world we are in now is streaming for many people. It's a Star Trek movie, and it's the worst of the lot. So we can move on, because I know, Toby, you haven't seen it, and
I
Rich?
haven't seen it, so...
I watched half an hour of it, and I have a general rule of thumb that if something is going to almost literally make my blood boil, I stop watching.
There you go.
So what you're saying is I should watch it. You're recommending it, right?
Oh yeah, for definite.
Yeah,
at least 3 times in a row. To begin the official ranking, which means we're ranking 13 films, which is still mind-boggling that there are that many. So my number 13 is Star Trek Into Darkness. We are a positivistic podcast. We're a celebratory podcast. We're generally about embracing the good and the community of Star Trek and everything it can represent. I struggle with this film to do that. It looks great. Every Bad Robot produced Star Trek film looks fantastic. To a degree, I don't really like the redesign of the Enterprise very much, which is one of the, as we know from past episodes, one of my key things with the Star Trek movie or show is that I got to enjoy the ship. And I don't like what they did with it with JJ's films. But for me, it's just it's reliance on Wrath of Khan, both in terms of what it's riffing off, the alternate version of things, and the need to really have pre-knowledge of why this character's worth doing, but then equally being so divergent. So yes, you can accept that things are played out differently, and so like the ships are bigger and more advanced due to the war footing that they all felt on after the destruction of the Kelvin and all that sort of thing. But he looks nothing like Khan. He's very, very English looking, even with Benedict Cumberbatch American accent, and it's just a bit like, In previous episodes, we've often talked before about earned beats, earned moments, particularly of emotion and of audience investment, and this film just does not earn any of the deaths and reincarnations and the way it's going to go. This crew have not been together chronologically long enough, done enough, and so on a pure dramatic level, it looks good, sounds good. It's not boring, but then neither's a trip to the dentist. Ian,
you pretty much stole my entire script. My biggest issue with the movie, though, is it's not earned. So we're supposed to cry Kirk, Spock, the whole death scene. It literally just is the mirror image of it, flipping the characters. It has no resonance whatsoever within the world of these characters. Spock wouldn't care that much at the moment in time that this happens.
No, he wouldn't.
It just didn't make any sense to me. I hated it at the time. I rewatched it again knowing we were doing this.
I watched it last night.
It's worse now, I think.
Yeah. I really don't like the movie. And the thing is, here's the key thing. I didn't at the time. And I, of course, and have long been a Star Trek cheerleader. And this is one of those instances fortunately, I never had to write a review of the movie. And
either.
Fortunately, nobody ever said to me, with the exception of one of the writers when I did a quick phoner, after seeing the movie, what'd you think of it? Where I more or less had to lie and say, oh, interesting.
We've all been there.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. Just not a good movie. It's not good Star Trek, and it's not a good movie. And I hate to use the word lazy, but I love Benedict Cumberbatch. He couldn't bring anything to the role because there was nothing on paper.
It's also knowing that the Star Trek films, especially in the Kirk and Spock era, struggled to have reasonable budget after the motion picture. And I just mind boggles what they could have done with the money that's all over Into Darkness.
Yeah. Doesn't work for me in any way, shape, or form.
The bit which really, really annoys me about it is when he finally reveals that he is Khan. I am Khan. That means something to the Star Trek audience, but it should mean nothing to any of the actual characters. Why does Spock then go and contact his older version of himself? Have you ever heard of Khan? Why would he do that?
Not Khan.
Yeah, I know. It's just. Is that your 13th spot, Ian?
Oh yeah.
Right. Okay. It's not mine.
Oh,
Woo,
can I just say?
Wait, I'm going to wake up now. Go ahead.
Just before you get to that, just very quickly on the Khan-ness of things, that's one of my few issues with Strange New Worlds, that I love Christina Chong, I love the character, but Spock's got to meet the Botany Bay and meet a guy called Khan and not go, do you know a girl I was boffing on the Enterprise once long ago? She had Noonien Singh was her surname. Are you related? No. So, a side point.
You can't stand that?
So, Toby, what's your not Into Darkness, number 13?
My 13th spot is Nemesis.
Yeah, I figured it would be.
I agree with everything that you say about Into Darkness. My point with Nemesis is it's just depressing. It just depresses me. Into Darkness, I can sort of at least enjoy it on a kind of very basic level. It's got Beastie Boys in it, I'm always going to give a thumbs up to that. But yeah, Nemesis, I don't know, I watched the two films that I watched in prep for this was Nemesis and Into Darkness last night.
Because you hate yourself?
I know, what a brilliant double bill that was. And I just came out of Nemesis just feeling down and why did they do this? There's certain aspects of it. I liked the introduction of the Remans. I thought they kind of could have been quite interesting. I liked the Picard clone storyline. I thought that could have been interesting, playing on the whole Mirror Darkly. It's a classic sci-fi trope. And I love Tom Hardy and Ron Perlman as actors. I think they are
two of the best.
They're two of my favourites. But the Shinzon and the Viceroy, they're just not great characters, and the whole violation of Deanna Troi is gross and horrid. Data
and
sacrifice.
The last thing for a while, it could have been her swan song was that.
And it has a bit where Picard says, if you could carry on being violated, just to help us out, just for a little while longer. Yeah, she says that. It's like, what? That's ridiculous. And the data sacrifice, it just lacks the emotional gut punch of Wrath of Khan. It leaves a sour taste in my mouth, and thank God they got to redo it in Picard season 3 and have a better ending for this crew. So that's why it's in my last spot.
Yeah. It's not in my next spot either.
Mine either.
Oh, interesting. So I think I'm going to lose Ian at this point, though, because my number 12...
You can't lose what you never had, Rich.
Oh, for shame. A little piece of me just died.
It's a dagger to the mind.
Quick,
but
let's
it'll come
fire it
back,
off.
because it's science fiction we're talking about.
Let's fire it into the atmosphere of a newly generated planet. My number 12 is Star Trek V, The Final Frontier.
Sam.
Oh, there you go. Okay, so I haven't lost him. We're actually still on the same page. Which is, I've tried many, many times to like this film. But I just... Yeah. So... When I come to Nemesis, Toby, what you said about Nemesis, I agree with. It's depressing. It's like, ugh. And misjudged in so many ways. Final Frontier, though, is embarrassing. That's my problem with it. It's like they forgot everything that went into making Star Trek at all until The Voyage Home, where because The Voyage Home was a hit, it's got to be funny, and it just becomes a parody of the original series to some degree, with the God storyline, which Roddenberry, would definitely have called on the nose, even with his Apollo gods and things like that. But I find the interplay with the three main guys just cringesome. I find primarily my main objection is the treatment of the rest of the crew.
Oh, Scotty, what they do with him.
Sulu, Chekhov, and Scotty and Uhura are mistreated, not just not used, mistreated. Every single one of them is undermined and reduced to a punchline. I mean, the only saving grace for Chekhov is he does get that one trailer moment, which is warp speed now, and it's nice to see him in the captain's chair. But out of context, that's great. In context, it's a bit like, ugh, okay. And in a similar thing that was a problem with the Avengers when it came out, which is when Hawkeye for ages was brainwashed. Not for an entire film. It's like, come on, I will say, the saving graces are the McCoy memory sequence with his dying father. That's like the Superman 3, Superman versus Clark Kent fight. It's a different movie. It's much better. D. Kelly, and that is amazing. It's moving, and it's just testament to him that works and lands so well. And then also I like the shuttle sequence where they have to fly into the shuttle.
Yeah, but how about that landing? Don't they go into like a rope or something when they come into the shuttle bay?
No, I don't. No, I'm trying here, Ian. I'm trying, as I have many times, to like this film.
You're sweat. People at home, you cannot see this. He's sweating trying to defend the scene.
Yeah. I but also fundamentally, and again, not to repeat myself, the biggest crime is the visual effects, which was interesting because we're having spoken to John Eves and his involvement, and it was a kind of interesting hearing his take on how the compromises that had to be made because it wasn't ILM and it's Brown Ferrin coming on board, and as we know famously the budget was slashed. But it's the same Enterprise model, but it looks cheap, it looks nasty. Even when it goes to warp, it's wrong, and like Shakari, the center of the galaxy, looks like a glow ball. and then we don't even get into the god monster with his terrible eye blast. So it felt like a backward step in the same way that when I was younger, I was 13 when this came out. When I was younger, I struggled with TOS because I couldn't get past some of the effects and budget, and that was a failing on me then. But I remember very clearly when I was 13 going, what is this? After Star Trek 4, which was just, we were all clambering for another Star Trek film after Star Trek 4. We had a run, for me, of 4 great movies. This was the first one which I consciously knew was coming. I did know about Star Trek 4, but I saw it in the cinemas, but it wasn't like this. I was planning for it, I was waiting for it, and I was gutted. Ian.
Okay, so
similarly enthusiastic.
Final Frontier is also my number 12. It's just a bad movie. It doesn't work in any way, shape, or form. If you look at my one note next to it, it says cheap.
Yeah.
It just, from beginning to end, looks cheap. Not just the visual effects, the sets, the costumes look recycled, which I believe they were. It's just a bad movie. I love the line, what does God need with a starship?
It's nicely delivered.
It's a classic line. Right. Look, there are individual teeny little moments in it that I appreciate. There are certain shots, music cues that stand out.
Goldsmith being back was great, yeah.
Yes. Some of that is interesting stuff. I still laugh at the mountain climbing sequence with the boots and all of that. I personally smile, maybe out of embarrassment, but mostly out of affection, not infection, for the fire sequence, with the boys sitting around the campfire. But it's a terrible movie. But I do want to share one fast personal anecdote when it comes to that movie. my brother and I, my late brother and I, were not close at all. We only had a couple of things in common. Literally, I liked chocolate, he liked vanilla. We liked the Muppets and Star Trek, and that was about it. We shared a common love of both of those. And in my writing career, I finally got to a stage where, hey, I could take my brother to the premiere in New York City of Star Trek 5.
Wow. That would have brought you together so much.
We were not close before the movie. Walking out, we didn't even go get a drink. It's like, see ya.
He walked out, he's like, fuck you, Ian.
Right,
Thanks,
yeah,
bro.
you took me to this.
Thanks, bro.
I'm never talking to you again. It becomes a personal thing, because that's what I think of Star Trek 5. I think not only is it a bad movie, it was a bad moment in my personal relationship with my brother that I finally got an opportunity to show him what I do. And I took him to the worst Star Trek movie of all time other than Section 31. So, there you go.
Top that, Tobes.
Well, my 12th spot is Into Darkness. I wrote one thing, annoying. That's the only thing I put next to it.
And you rewatched it, though?
I rewatched it last night, yeah, and still
And it's
found
just
it
still
annoying.
More annoying than ever.
I think, yeah. Rich, I think we went and saw it together, didn't we?
We did.
At the cinema, because I think we came out and we had this long discussion. Is why on earth did they go back to the well of Wrath of Khan for the sequel? It's like the first 2009 film, it did a good job of kind of like setting up the characters and you know, it was well cast and everything, and then they sort of threw it away when they could have done something new and exciting.
I came out of 2009 thinking the execution was great. Just wish they hadn't done the old back stuff. Now that's out of the way. Let's plow ahead. And then it was like, oh. Okay.
But I do think it's worth pointing out that it's the film that grossed the most worldwide.
Yeah, I know.
Which is crazy when you think about it.
Pent up excitement.
Yeah, and then it's worth noting that it's because of Into Darkness that I believe Beyond didn't do it anywhere near as well as
As well,
two,
yeah.
because
Yeah.
people came out of that and were like, nah.
I
For
agree.
every person who was a soft fan, for want of a better term, of Star Trek, or a casual fan that it won over, there was the three of us going, huh. And I think that was a problem. And likewise, my number 11 is Nemesis.
My number 11 is Nemesis.
Hey!
We may be echoing each other a little bit here, mate.
Yeah,
Well,
I think
guess
so.
what my number 11 is going to be?
Oh, I can't wait. I don't really have anything to add to Nemesis. Toby, you've hit on my primary thing, which is, I can forgive a lot, but I can't forgive the mind violation of Deanna Troi, and have that undermined all the good work Marina had done and the writers had done to essentially redress a slight chauvinism in early 80s, late 80s Star Trek, which gradually they overcame, and she was instrumental in, and even if it's not really brilliant that she was the one that ultimately crashed the Enterprise D, that was circumstances beyond her control as a pilot anyway. I still think that she had some wonderful comic
And
beats.
she crashes it again in this
she
one.
does.
She crashes it into the scimitar.
But exactly. But she had some. Even though she was slightly underused in First Contact, she had some lovely comic beats, which was nice. And it's clear that she enjoyed that as an actor and as a character, to be a bit more than just the I'm feeling something bad. And I think for me, Stuart Baird, the director, as a filmmaker and as an editor in particular, has done some of my favourite stuff. Primarily Superman the movie. He's the editor of that. He's the saviour of many films, known to be so. And he was Dick Donner's regular editor. And I even quite like Executive Decision. It's the epitome of a cheesy 90s guilty pleasure, just because he kills Steven Seagal. So I was hopeful going into it. But he just doesn't give a shit about the characters. And that is absolutely clear. And if you don't care about that crew... See, Maya came in equally unknown to Star Trek, but he clearly found a way to love those characters. And the understanding of those characters in Wrath of Khan is substantial and amazing, considering that. This is the polar opposite. This is antithetical to Wrath of Khan in terms of bringing someone in who doesn't know and doesn't care. and which the prime example is the Dune buggy sequence.
Yeah.
Which is like, what film is this from?
Yeah, but even in the wedding sequence, which should be like something that all fans are like excited for.
Yeah, and
right?
he cut Wesley Crusher out.
It's
Why get him in?
Yeah.
Bonkers. Ian?
Anything to add to that? Yeah.
It's my number 11. I remember being wildly disappointed by it. The whole clone thing was useless.
Doesn't look like him.
Tom Hardy was really interesting. He was lean and tall, and we interviewed him on the set, and I remember thinking he doesn't look particularly frightening here, and he was wearing like that mother of pearl black weird outfit, and it was just when he comes down the steps of the scimitar, it was like a Busby Berkeley movie. Absolutely did nothing for me. And I remember, I think it was Herman Zimmerman who designed that set, and the whole idea was to make it opulent and senatorial-like. And
they shot it in darkness.
It was just right, but it was just over the top and underwhelming at the same time. You wasted Ron Perlman. You wasted, a future star in Tom Hardy. You wasted Dina Meyer.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They wasted Jim Robinson from Neighbours.
Yeah, there you go. That was the biggest crime in my book. And Stuart Baird, as you say quite accurately, didn't care. But here's the thing that we're leaving out, which is John Logan wrote this. Okay, John Logan is an acclaimed writer. I think if you said to Logan, what are your thoughts on this movie now, he would say it was a misfire. From a guy on stage, screen, television, who's had a remarkable career as a writer and is a massive, massive Star Trek fan. So I don't know if the script got taken out of his hands. I don't know if, he was just in a bad way while he was writing it. If it is, all of his writing that survived to what we see on the screen. I was excited when I heard John Logan was writing it. I'm still excited now when I hear John Logan's going to be involved in any kind of a project. It's worth it to me to check out. Nemesis sucks.
Yeah.
So I think the themes are there. It's just
the idea's there.
It just doesn't work.
That's what's worse, though. That's what's worse. So imagine your Frakes. So you look at the material of Insurrection and the material of Nemesis, and Nemesis is richer, potentially. And it's just so sad that that's how it came out. That from the get-go, if you get, you're going to cast a young version of a guy who with thin, virtually non-existent lips, you don't cast someone with a pout. Simple, small choices. I know it sounds glib, but genuinely, there's just no way around any of that. And that creates the need for dialogue, which explains how if you'd lived through the conditions he'd lived through, you'd look like him. Bollocks. Bad writing.
Well, he does that line, doesn't he, where they try and gloss over everything when he says it's not quite the face you remember, right? Well, I watched it fresh last night. But with Stuart Baird, from memory, and I would need to double check this, but he was given Star Trek because he'd rescued a film in editing just before that. I can't remember what the film was, but he worked on that, and then he basically said, as a thank you, they gave him a film to direct. And I think he actually did select Star Trek as the one that he wanted to do.
God, that makes it worse.
But it probably, out of the options that he was given, maybe it was the one that
highest profile,
the most. Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if you guys were on set, but I've never been on a set where the cast openly and both on and off the record, or let me phrase that, off and on the record, more appropriately worded, stated their dislike for the director. It was clear that the actors felt that Baird had no clue what their characters were about or stood for, and more importantly, did not care. He didn't want the input from the actors who would sit there and say, hey, I played this character for X number of years, so-and-so would not do that. And just plug in the actor and the character because it applied to all of them.
I think that was a reaction to the fact that he knew that in 3 or 4 of the, well, 5 even cast members, you had people who directed Star Trek. At different sizes and different success, but nonetheless had done it.
Yeah.
So I think it was probably, but it's one of those. This is one of those great oxymorons for me. That genuinely, Stuart Baird's in the list of filmmakers that I'd love to talk to, because I'd love to talk to him about the films he's edited primarily, but that I love. And I just got if it ever happens, I just can't talk about Star Trek.
Yeah. He also wasn't a particularly pleasant interview on the set or at the junket.
He was all right when I spoke to him. There was a big Star Trek exhibition in London, which was in Hyde Park, where they had some of the sets on show as well as costumes and things like that. And I was editor of Star Trek magazine when Nemesis came out, as I've mentioned. So we went there and we interviewed the cast on the bridge of the Enterprise D, which was quite a surreal experience, particularly interviewing Patrick Stewart, Captain Picard, on there. But when I interviewed, because I interviewed both Stewart and John, and they're both very pleasant to talk to at that point, but maybe they, it was before people had seen the film, so... Anyway, my number 11, guess what? It's The Final Frontier. I kind of like the idea. It sort of feels quite original series in concept, in terms of like going to find potentially God. There were definitely episodes that featured that kind of storyline in the original series, but I put it's poorly executed and the budget constraints are very obvious. But it does, Rich mentioned it, it's got one of my favourite scenes in all of Star Trek, which is the McCoy and his euthanizing his father and the guilt that he feels. I just love that scene. It's brilliant, and DeForest is superb in that scene. I don't think he's better in anything in the whole of Star Trek. I think that scene is his. I like the row your boat stuff at the beginning. I think it's quite fun. I don't, that doesn't embarrass me. It's more some of the other stuff. But something that we haven't mentioned is Cyborg.
I was about to say that. I was waiting to see if you bring him up.
And
I think Spock's got a brother.
I think he's an interesting character. I'm sort of intrigued, because I've only seen season 1 of Strange New Worlds, so don't spoil anything, that he was mentioned in the Serene Squall in the first season, and whether that will ever come back, I'm kind of quite excited for that prospect. Whether it happens or not, I don't know. I'm not looking at your faces, so I don't want any clues. But I wanted to, what did you think of that character in terms of who he was and how he acted, and his relationship to Spock?
It's 2 separate things for me. Lawrence Luckenbill was fine. I didn't mind the concept. What I didn't like was who it was a brother of, and the fact he'd never been mentioned. And the irony of me saying that, of course, is that it's a beat they repeat in the Star Trek franchise. Oh yeah, Spock, Spock, I can't wait to see who else is related to Spock out there.
Cyrek's been busy, right?
Yeah.
Right, his third cousin removed twice.
That was one active pond far.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yes. Yeah. I agree. I thought it was it wasn't a waste of a character. I just thought they never developed it enough to make it worthwhile. And I actually quite liked Lawrence Luckenbill in the role. Remember, the concept of that was Sean Connery.
Was it? I didn't know that.
Shakari.
There were more than a few people who walked into the theater thinking Sean Connery and getting Lawrence Luckenbill.
The joke is that's why it's Shakari. Shakari Sean Connery.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a tidbit I did not know.
Yeah. So, there you go. All right, let's go to number 10.
Right, yes, my number 10, and this is where, again, every time I think we're going to diverge, we don't, but I think this will be it, is Insurrection for me. I would say from this point, there's not a dislike. The 3 we've done, I don't like.
It's the same for me, yeah.
Yeah, from this point on, I like all of them to some degree, and it's just, that as you get nearer the top, I love them. Insurrection is fine. It's a good episode of Star Trek. It's a bit bland after First Contact. So I don't know how I would have felt about Insurrection if it had been, say, between Generations and First Contact. Maybe different. But for me, it's just fine. It's kind of cozy, is the way I would describe it. It feels very cozy in the way like episodic TV does. And it just doesn't feel very epic. And yet it should, because a lot of what's in there should. And I like the idea, I like the conceit, I like F. Murray Abraham, I like the Sona and the Baku and everything that represents. Don't like the Picard romance.
That's the opposite for me. I like that.
I like the idea of it. I don't think they followed through on it particularly well.
I like that romance.
I like her, I don't like the way it's done.
No, I disagree on that.
The bit I like, I did enjoy the reunion of Riker and Troy. I did like that, and I thought that was done with humour. But overall, the stakes just felt really low. And while it's a dangerous game to chase your tail to up the ante every time, the universe can't be in threat. Well, that's probably the Discovery problem. The universe shouldn't be in threat every single time. But this just felt so small and felt like a repetition. Like the Data stuff at the beginning feels like we're watching Who's Watching the Watchers and all sorts of things, and it's just like, okay. So it's enjoyed it, came out fine, but just after First Contact, which was a high point for the whole franchise, yeah, slightly disappointing.
I'm going to throw something at you.
Go ahead.
So this storyline, if you boil it down to me, is that the needs of the few outweigh the needs of the many.
Yeah, just the reverse. Yeah.
and it was just
Cure for cancer versus a village.
Yeah. And so that's a interesting take on something that has been such a big part of Star Trek before that.
No, I totally agree with you, Tob. Insurrection is also my number 10, and I also exactly wrote down good, better, best. From here, my list go. I will watch any of these movies again. There are a couple that I will watch sooner than others. Insurrection at the time, I defended quite a bit, and I still do. I actually think it's a good movie. Would it work better as a TV movie? Yes. I almost feel like you could put commercials in this
two-part episode, essentially.
Yeah, it just feels like a big episode, is my issue with it. I don't know that you go hire F. Murray Abraham and give him not very much to do. I thought they kind of wasted that. I thought my feeling on the romance was the idea was there, the execution wasn't quite there. But all in all, Michael Piller wrote that. It was a script that was kind of sitting around that they kind of picked up. And not a bad movie, just it was never going to be a box office hit. I think it would have worked better as a TV movie. Oh, and don't forget, one thing that drove me nuts was the March of the Spoons, when you have all the Baku villagers walking, and you've got, isn't it Gates with like the rifle?
Yeah.
All the villagers are walking. Let's protect those wooden spoons. Anyway, back at you.
Yeah, Toad's yours.
My next spot is not Insurrection. Clearly, you guys are in tune, and I'm not at all. It's Star Trek 2009.
Wow.
Which I put. It's a thrill ride. It's just not a Star Trek film.
We've had this conversation many times.
We have had this conversation. You know, I think you could change the title and the names of the characters, and it would be indistinct from any other science fiction action film. It's really well cast. I think Karl Urban is a standout as McCoy, but he's underutilized. Some of the science in it is just ridiculous. And I just don't like Nero. I think his motivation's just stupid. And that's a big problem of it.
But the Nero character, to agree with you, Tobe, the Nero character is my issue with pretty much every Star Trek feature film, which is it's some disgruntled Starfleet Federation personality who's getting their vengeance on whoever pissed them off.
The emo baddie.
You know, it's the same with Krall. It's the same with Khan. It's the same with, I get that the villain has to be somebody wrong, but hello, come on, give me an alien.
Of all the villains, his motivation is the most stupid. It's like, why was it Spock's fault that Romulus was destroyed? It wasn't.
It is a little bit more. I'm not a comic book reader, but the Countdown comic books actually filled in a lot of details as to why.
Right.
Just throwing that out there. I thought, like I said, I'm not a comic book guy, but when I was at StarTrek.com, that was coming out, and I had to read it to do interviews with the artists and the writers. And the stuff with the red matter didn't work in the movie is far more explained in the comic book.
Does it explain why older Spock has got a whole ship full of like a huge bubble of it when it takes like a tiny drop to...
I can't hear you.
Is that deliberate? Yeah. But I would say I don't dislike the film. I just don't think it's a Star Trek film for me. And the best scenes for me is the stuff with Leonard Nimoy, particularly on the planet when Kirk turns up.
I'm the reverse, but I said I'll come to that.
It doesn't fit. It doesn't work in terms of like, you know.
I agree with that, but I don't think they're the best things in it.
But I think I like that conversation that he has, and when he's discussing that his younger self is disturbed by the destruction of Vulcan, and you know, if he wants to get command back. But yeah, that's why it's in my where are we 10th spot.
Okay, so my number 9 is Generations.
Mine too.
It's getting frightening now.
We are very different. We are very different.
Again, I've realised thinking about this that a lot of it is the same way that Insurrection probably suffered from being after First Contact. Generation suffers from being after all good things. And in fact, I couldn't square in my head that I'd seen a better movie as the series finale than the movie I was getting. This was the beginning of, if Relics was a lovely example of how to bring back an original series character and acknowledge the nostalgia, the reasons for doing it, making it melancholy, and also giving Jimmy Doohan some of the best showcase work he's ever been allowed to do on the franchise, full stop. This is the antithesis of that. This is a marketing ploy for me, to get them both in. They fear the next gen cast can't launch a film, so they bring Shatner in. He's not given character best level work, and in fact, even with the amended reshot ending, you know, I prefer the way he dies in inverted commas at the beginning of Generations than how he actually goes. That I quite like the opening, apart from some of the Tuesday gags. I also don't like what they do with Data. We all know that Brent Spiner's an incredibly talented, funny, and adept actor, but it was given too much free rein, and it becomes unlikable. Data feels unlikable in Generations, a lot of it, which is disappointing. Apart from my favourite life forms, your good little life forms. That's the best part for him. You know, Marina and Gates are reduced to background, which was a bit of a shame. And also, I think, just to be honest as well, I don't think Dennis McCarthy was up to the task of scoring the film. It's fine, but in the same way that, as much as I love Deep Space Nine and I love a lot about it, it's not the best theme tune for a thing. I know a film doesn't live or die on that, but for Star Trek, even when you have one-offs like Cliff Idleman or Leonard Rosenman, that march is important, and I would defy most people to be able to whistle you Dennis McCarthy's Generations theme. There is one, but could anyone do it? It's hard to do because it's a bit muddled, and I think that represents the whole thing for me. The Enterprise looks great, the special effects are great. The Nexus is a stinky device. Not a fan of it. Malcolm McDowell was a bit wasted. And the final point on it is, again, I know it doesn't sound like I don't. I do like it. I will watch it, but it's a little boring. And I don't like what they did to Picard, turning him from. This is the first time we get emo Picard, which is what prefigures what happens in Picard. That they whip out. You know, you've got to the big screen, and then they completely redefine the character with the killing of his family, and he's sad and dour. So it sounds more negative than I think I mean it to, but it's just it just doesn't cohere as well as it should. There are moments where it's really good, and I do love the cinematic representation and presentation of the Enterprise D, but then they get rid of it, which is a bit of a shame. That sequence is the best sequence in the film, the crashing of the ship, for me.
Mm-hmm. So, I'm going to save my thoughts until I get to it, but
it's as well my number 9. I liked the movie. I remember enjoying it at the time, thinking it was good. That's my extent of it. I didn't think it was that much of a marketing ploy. I thought it was inevitable that the torch had to be passed. So I just kind of like the cameo by DeForest Kelley in the pilot of The Next Generation. I really didn't have any problem with them crossing over. My issue was it didn't add much to the characters, to either one of the characters. I didn't feel like they were a buddy team. But the scenes, some of the moments in the cabin were actually interesting conversations about what it means to be a captain and the sacrifices that you make, and I'd be a captain again rather than all of that.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I thought there was payoff to some of that. I am with you that the opening death of Kirk was far more interesting than the one we got, and then I'm always fascinated, no pun intended, by the fact that the death that they reshot was not as interesting as what would have, what they originally shot. Oh my.
Yeah.
Didn't do it for me. I just, looking back on it, it was an important bridge, no pun intended again, an important bridge film for the franchise. It was good. It should have been better, is where I'm at with the film. I am with you in thinking that there was a lot of Data in it, because I think they felt that Data is the most filmic of the characters after Picard, and so they devoted a lot of screen time to that. I just thought overall the movie was okay, and that's not damning the movie. I guess I liked it enough that I wanted it to be better.
Yeah.
Let's go with that.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Tobes.
My 9th spot is Star Trek Beyond. I think it's a fun movie. It's the best of the three for me. I think Simon Pegg, genuine fan, and I think he brought a lot of the stuff that he knew the fans would like. There's some nice callbacks, and there's some moral dilemma in there, which I think was missing from the other two. But it's still, for me, it just leans too heavily on the shooty pew pew action. And I think we mentioned villains a little bit before. I think this is the most, as much as I love Idris Elba, it's the most forgettable villain in all of Star Trek. Until you mentioned it a moment ago, I'd forgotten his name was Kroll. That's how forgettable I think he is.
Yeah, I get that.
And can you imagine getting Benedict Cumberbatch? The guys that they brought in as the villains in these movies,
They're great.
unbelievable actors. Give them something to do. Jesus Christ. Yeah.
Okay, well, in which case, segueing nicely from that, my number 8 is Star Trek 2009, which is, I was grudgingly higher. I would like it to be lower, but I have to acknowledge that I think the execution is really good. I think it did fulfill the brief of trying to reanimate Star Trek, but I think ironically it was too successful, and that's why we end up to some degree where we are now, especially following Into Darkness. But my thing is the reverse of what you said, Tobes, which is I feel that they did a great job generally of casting. I was worried about Kirk, and I thought Chris Pine was pretty good.
No, I said the casting was good.
Zachary Quinto I have issues with as Spock a bit, but what I mean is that they were so good, and the execution, tone, and the energy was effective enough. Not quite my Star Trek, but what I used to think of as Star Trek, that I didn't understand why they didn't have the confidence to just do that. I love the opening, and it's the strength of that opening that takes me a long way with the Kelvin alternate universe bit as a reboot device, until you get old Spock, when it just says to me, we don't know what to do. We doubt ourselves. We've got to have somebody from the original in it somewhere to tie things together. And to go back to what you commented on before, Ian, the red matter is it's a great big piece of MacGuffin stuffing. It's meaningless. It's nothing. And if you watched Alias, he uses a great big red ball of evil in that. Same thing, ported directly over. And he also, from a screenwriting point of view, it commits a cardinal sin, which is the entire middle is predicated on coincidence, which is Kirk is exiled on a random planet, random in inverted commas, where Spock has been dropped, where Scotty is based, and they're all within walking distance of each
the
other.
setup is dreadful.
That is is abominable writing, and this is why it's higher than I'd like it to be, because the execution is good enough that you can sort of skate over it. And then the climax, again, Nero's weak, but essentially that first 45 minutes, it's pretty corking. And I was like, okay, maybe, if this isn't quite what I'd have done, I can see what they're doing. And then they just sort of undermined it. And also, a final thing I'd say about it is I like Michael Giacchino's music.
Yeah, the music's good.
I think it's really good. And I've seen it performed live with the score, with an orchestra, and it is really good. So if my criticism of the one before about Generations having a weak score, this has the reverse. This has a better score than the film.
We're up to my number 8, which is Beyond. Really enjoyed the movie. I thought it was very entertaining. I thought by now we knew this cast as our old characters well enough that they could play off that chemistry. I quite enjoyed the music in this one. I thought it kind of had a rousing score. Again, my issue
You mean the return of Beastie Boys Sabotage, right?
except for that, which was recycled, except for why did we need the motorcycle sequence? I mean, seriously, of all the things in the world, I mean,
I got advice from Stuart Baird, that's why.
it's lower for me than the dune buggy sequence, right? Come on, I had major issues with it. But one character we've not mentioned that I did quite like was Jayla. And I really would have liked to have seen Jayla developed a lot more, because I thought she had a lot of potential. Interesting actress, interesting looking actress, interesting makeup. The relationship between her and Scotty, I thought was worth watching, and a little bit compelling is too strong a word, but I wanted a little bit more. I thought there was some good stuff there. But otherwise, I agree with everything you already said on it. It should be lower, but based on the ones that are before and after it, I think for me, I've got it in the right spot. Where I will differ a little bit is I actually would watch 09 before it, which is what you'll see reflected where my 09 is.
Oh, and we should shout out Anton Yelchin, right?
Correct.
'Cause
Yeah.
This was his
Go for it.
the last film. I thought he was very good as Chekhov, actually, Anton Yelchin. He brought something different to it.
At the cost of Sulu, though.
Do you think?
It's a bit, and the focus shifted more towards.
Yeah, maybe. I think in the 2009 film, there's definitely more of a focus on Sulu. But even in Into Darkness, Sulu has a little bit more to do. So I think maybe that they decided they should give Chekhov a little bit more.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah.
I mean, in Into Darkness, Chekhov takes charge of engineering when the engine blows up, and then that's all he really does. Whereas at least in Beyond, he's given a little bit more action to do, and as his final role sadly died.
It did make watching the movie a different kind of experience. I mean, it was released just very shortly after Yelchin passed away. The scene at the very end where they're kind of toasting, it took on a double meaning, since we knew we wouldn't be seeing him as the character again. Who knows if we'd see the character again, right? But certainly not him as the character. I loved that youthful enthusiasm that he brought to the role. I love that he was actually Russian, and was able to find that line between a real Russian accent and Walter Koenig's
Vessels and Wessels. Yeah.
Yes. Lot of fun.
There are always possibilities.
Yes.
Anyway, my number 8 is Insurrection. I like this film. I like the morality aspect of it. I do think potentially it was rushed into production on the back of the success of First Contact. I think maybe that's why it doesn't feel quite as coherent, and maybe feels, as you said, sort of lower budget, although I'm sure it wasn't, but in terms of like how the stories played out and the settings and things. But unlike you, I like the romance between Picard and Anish, Donna Murphy. I I really love the scene when he beams down to the planet and after realizing how old that the Baku are, and I like how that is played out. I like the sign off where he says he's got, you know, lots of days leave that he is due to take, and why not take it there. But I feel it's a little bit soft, particularly again when you base it on the back of First Contact. And I do like the villain. This is the thing, I like Ruafu, as over the top as that character is. I think I would argue it's in a good way. And the thing that I don't like it, and you sort of mention it in Generations, is the stuff with Data pretending to be a boy. That's the stuff which I sort of cringe a little bit at. But the rest
the whole
of it,
Pinocchio thing.
yeah, the rest of it, I like this film quite a lot. I didn't watch it all that long ago, just not for the pod. I just watched it. So yeah, that's in my 8 spot.
Okay. Oh, my 7 spot is Beyond. I don't disagree with anything either of you said about Beyond. This is just one of those times where, you know what, if I was gonna watch one of the JJ ones, I watch this one. It's a little bit more Star Trek, as you said, Toby, with the Simon Pegg bit. Yeah, the villain's a bit meh, but I like the idea. Again, they're rushing a little bit with the jaded Kirk, but I quite like the idea of it being the slog of the 5-year mission rather than just his age. And I just enjoyed it more. I just remember I liked I like Jada, I like the old ship. Again, they destroyed the Enterprise too soon. Again, too many parallels. Destroyed it in Search for Spock, so let's destroy it in the third one. Although that does mean a refit, but I still don't like the refit design either. Yeah, so it's fine. It's good. I enjoy it. It's purely that. This is, for me, this is the last one in my rankings where it's like, yeah, okay. From this point on, I have strong opinions, both good and bad. But without a doubt, from this point on, all the films are of a higher caliber for me.
I forgot to mention something about Nemesis. Do you remember how that film ends? Do you remember the final shot?
Isn't it the pan out from the ship?
In Space Dock being fixed?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What a bloody awful ending. I was just thinking about that because I was thinking about my next film. I really love the ending of it, and then that idea just suddenly popped into my head.
Another thing I entirely disliked about Into Darkness was the ship coming out of the water.
Oh, I know.
I did not buy that at all.
Why is it in the water?
Submergible!
Ugh.
Submersible? I don't know. Just
That
bad.
thing's fucking enormous. That version of the Enterprise is bigger than the D. It's enormous, and if you do the scaling. And you park essentially a little city in the sea.
Yeah.
Bonkers.
I hate that whole beginning. The whole Prime Directive, arguments about what the Prime Directive is. It's just like,
And they violate it from the get-go
I
as well.
know,
It's just like...
Anyway.
Yeah. Don't get me started.
Yeah.
All right. 7 we're up to, correct?
Yeah, correct.
My 7 is Search for Spock. So, again, we are getting to the good stuff here, right? So this is no knock on Search for Spock. But Search for Spock also feels a little bit like a TV movie or an extended episode of the show. And it moments looks a little cheap. Like the Klingon dog creature thing.
The Targ.
Yes. I've got my issues with that. I remember laughing at the time when I saw it on screen. And the problem with doing that was Leonard Nimoy was sitting behind me.
Oh no.
Redwood fire! They killed my dog!
It was an issue. I know a lot of people also had issues with Chris Lloyd as the villain because they could not separate him at the time from Taxi. Watch the movie now, and he's much more effective.
Oh, I didn't
As
know
Krug.
Taxi.
I agree.
I thought he was actually a very interesting character, and I thought it was a really enigmatic performance that riveted me to the screen. More on television, like I said, than at the time when I saw the movie. It brought Spock back. I thought Robin Curtis was terrific as a very different Saavik, worlds apart from what Kirstie Alley had done. I thought it had some good Vulcan history and culture in it. There are a lot of things I like about the movie that are small bits of throwback or acknowledgement of the past and setting up for the future than as a movie unto itself. I think it's the movie that had to be made to bring Spock back. I think if somebody made that movie now, they might not spend. That might be 10 minutes at the beginning of a different movie.
Yeah, that's true. But I'm not sure that's a good thing.
That's the big criticism of Search for Spock for me, is I don't know that we needed to see every phase of his resurrection for quite as long as they went on. On the other hand, that the kid Spock had a good time with Saavik. So
lots of finger rubbing.
Yes, I'm going to keep my powder dry for later.
Keep my powder dry. What the fuck does that mean?
Otherwise it blows
would all blow up.
Is that what it means?
Yeah, because if you get TNT wet, it becomes unstable.
Well, it's gunpowder is the reference.
Yeah.
So if you put it next to...
Is that a British saying? Or is
it
that...
comes from... it's a nautical term. It comes from the ships and cannons on ships.
Never heard it. See, it's almost worth doing this podcast just for my educational purposes. It's really the money that keeps me around.
Yeah. Money and the information you didn't know you needed.
Yes. And the influence we now wield. Go ahead, Tubbs.
My number 7, guessing from your list, this might be quite shocking, is The Undiscovered Country in my 7th spot. I did write down, I'm like you, all of these are hits for me, but after Star Trek 5, it's a triumph.
Yeah. A relief, oh, thank God.
Yeah. I really like the ending. I mentioned that I like talking about endings. I love the ending of this film. But the thing that I find problematic of it is this is the last film. We knew this was the last film. And so separating the crew up when I want to see them interact by taking Kirk and Bones away from the ship, I don't... That's slightly problematic for me. We've mentioned this in previous pods, but I think what they do with Chekhov, Uhura and McCoy is sort of a bit of a disservice to those characters. They seem incompetent, which sounds like I'm criticising it. There's lots of stuff I like in this film. I like the villain. I like the big battle at the end. I like Captain Sulu, and I said the actual final sequence is probably the best of all the films, maybe. And I like how they did the ending with the signatures and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think there are films that I like and probably watch more ahead of it.
Okay. Well, actually, my number 6 is The Undiscovered Country.
Oh, there we go. We're not that too dissimilar.
Yeah, for the same sort of reasons. Not quite identical, but funnily enough, what you said about Star Trek 5, I think I liked this a lot more for a long time than I do now because it followed Star Trek 5. Like, I thought it was the bee's knees for ages because I was just so happy. That the effects were good, the writing was good generally, Maya was back, good actors doing good things, and it felt like a better sign-off than I thought we were going to get. So that, for years, probably would... So if you'd asked me 10 years ago even, it probably would be higher. But I rewatched it a couple of years ago, and some of that embarrassment factor from Star Trek 5 is in this. Uhura not being able to speak Klingon, all of that fast with the translation, the
boot fit.
The boot fits. Yeah, the whole stuff. Why Walter Koenig didn't petition them to remove that close up of his eye with the scanner that shows the eyeliner really clearly in his makeup. I don't know. I mean, I'd want my team to be on that, and I still, and also now in retrospect, I think Kim Cattrall's a bit too big as Valeris, and I find myself wishing that had been Saavik.
I think Saavik definitely would have improved it. I think once you know that there is a spy on the Enterprise, I mean, we all went straight to Saavik, didn't we?
Yeah, I think so. But to be positive, because again, I think some of the what I say about Generations was probably sounded more negative than I intended. The effects are awesome. I love the beginning with Sulu on the Excelsior and the explosion of Praxis and the wave. I love the intrigue. I love the Klingons. Some of the science is a bit conceit, with the anti-grav, but I like the floating globules that now look like
purple.
But I particularly like it when the gravity comes back on its splatters, for instance. That's really nice. And I love the ending. I love the fight at the end. The Shakespeare's overplayed. Yes, we get it. It's literary. Wrath of Khan was literary. So is this. Let's not bang that thing on the nose too much. But Plummer is great. David Warner is a revelation after his Fey diplomat from Star Trek V. And yeah, so overall, and I love the signatures too. I think from the sort of embarrassment factor, for instance, is the very, very end at Khitomer when Kirk gives that speech. I find that a bit much, and also I don't like the way Shatner smiles at the end, and Scotty looks sort of embarrassed. They come in, they put their one foot up on the dais, and everybody looks uncomfortable. Like that wasn't blocking that they wanted to do.
It's much nicer when they're on the bridge of the ship, isn't it, at the end?
Yeah, and then that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Then you go to the ship, and it's like, you didn't need that.
Yeah.
You just needed them to come back on the bridge, and that speech and all of that is great. And so that's what I mean. It's sort of, now when I watch it, there's this slightly more friction between those tones than there was when I originally saw it. When I thought it was just a triumph when I originally saw it. And I just think it hasn't aged as well as some of its predecessors. But overall, still good. And Maya, why they didn't pay him everything in the whole planet to come back to Star Trek another time, there's probably a reason, but I would have. Ian.
All right, where you are at 6?
Yep.
My 6 is 2009. How do I put this? Beyond is actually probably a better movie in many ways, but 09 served a function. It recast the characters. It reestablished the world of Star Trek on a big screen. It had a lot of heavy lifting to do, and I thought it did so in a way that just created a very entertaining movie. I thought the casting was spot on, particularly Carl Urban. I thought he was just absolutely great as creating his own character, but stepping into the shoes of D. Kelly. The thing that was unforgivable for me, and I'm always torn on it because it doesn't reflect well on me because I know there's a precedent for it, which is I hated the bit with Kirk's swollen hand. I remember at the time that pulled me out of the movie.
And you say I'm nitpicky.
No,
fuck me.
But it's a big moment in
Kirk's
the movie.
Sausage
and,
fingers is what is the bit which annoys you the most.
Just absolutely stupid. I know it's a play on a moment from the original series. So it's kind of an inside joke for Star Trek fans. But I thought it was just played for slapstick comedy, and it just didn't work for me. I just thought that was the epitome of stupid. I thought, having Nimoy was great. I love Eric Bana as an actor. The poor man had absolutely nothing to do.
And one of the worst makeup jobs, it just looked like he had been punched.
Yeah, it was just, the villain has to be good in these movies, and nothing to do with Eric Bana's performance, I don't even think. It just wasn't a particularly exciting, intriguing, antagonistic villain for me, which I thought was a real missed opportunity. Again, this is, in the JJ movies, I thought the villains were among the weakest elements of them. It's all this, hey, even Peter Weller's character, right?
Yeah.
That we were talking about earlier. It's the same thing. Whereas look at Peter Weller on Enterprise. That was a great character with meat on the bone and a reason for existing other than being villainous.
We haven't even talked about the fact that they went a few step backwards on their representation of women with the Kara Marcus version.
Yeah, Alice Eve, yeah.
Which is after DS9 was like, Voyager, really?
Yeah. And completely unnecessary.
That was the image they released.
Completely unnecessary.
Right, and released that image as publicity for it, too, of course. Why not? Get the sexy babe. Where you could have gotten away with it just with the Orion girls.
Yeah. Yeah, you didn't need it. I know.
Yeah.
Just like the really cast room went, you know what? So you could hear the exec saying, she's foxy, let's get her in some underwear.
Right, but the Orion girls bit was interesting to me because it was a cute throwback. We had them on Enterprise.
It's also a character beat.
Right, because he's such a cat. And you know, this is young, impulsive Kirk.
This is
so I actually appreciated the way they did that, because that was acknowledging the character's cadness, for lack of a better word. But overall, I really enjoyed the movie, and in context, it's an important movie. It did show that Star Trek could be reinvented in an interesting way. Again, we run into this whole thing, why not just create a whole new universe and new characters? You know, but if you're going to do it, let it be as good as Star Trek 09.
Toes.
My number 6 is Generations. I don't disagree with anything that you have previously said, apart from I don't think the Nexus is a particularly bad idea. I kind of quite like it. I think Malcolm McDowell's Soren is one of the better villains. It's certainly, in my mind, one of the most memorable. When I think about the villains in Star Trek, he is one of the first ones who comes up. There are others which are slightly ahead of him. I agree about the Data being given a bit too much room, and it's a bit cringy in places, but there's the scene in Astrometrics where Picard and Data are talking, and
that is a good
it's
scene.
a really good scene. It's a really strong scene. And I personally don't have a problem with Kirk's death at the end. I think that's the sort of thing that Kirk would do, that he would sacrifice himself in that way.
It's not that, it's the way it's done.
It's not necessarily the big saving tons of people that I think a lot of people wanted. If Kirk was to go out, he was to save the universe one last time, dying doing it. It's not that kind of sacrifice. It's on a much smaller scale. But I think it suited the character. I really... The oh my bit, I can see why you potentially don't like that. It doesn't rankle me at all. What does bother me is that Picard leaves him under a pile of stones on the planet. It's like,
why would you do that?
Yeah, that bit does bother me.
And more to the point, clearly Picard's standing. It's not Stewart.
Yeah. No.
Well, my issue with that was it was an unremarkable way for a remarkable character to go.
But I like that. I like that aspect
which I
of
don't
it.
mind. I don't mind in theory. But what was the running joke at the time? Captain on the bridge, and now the bridge is on the captain. It didn't. The weight of the moment wasn't there for me in it.
No pun intended again.
Heroic. Yes. It being a non-heroic-ish moment. And, you know, if being honest, it's kind of what made, you know, Denise Crosby's demise on Next Generation so shocking, right? Is it was just a mundane moment.
Just happened.
When it happened. But, I don't know, somehow...
This is neither. This is neither.
I understand
This is
the
Kirk,
objections.
this is-
I get it why some people,
Right?
but to
Yeah.
me, it's something that has never rankled with me. I've always thought it's within keeping of the
Interesting.
character that he would make that sacrifice. It doesn't matter how big or
This
small.
is why I'm enjoying what we're doing, gentlemen, is because I didn't realize how much it rankled me until we're talking about it. Or how much it still rankles me
Yeah.
now that we're talking about it.
Yeah. It's interesting,
Good.
isn't it?
Yep.
So as we get to... So I should preface the top 5 by saying these are all 5 are films I love. Completely.
I agree with you 1,000%. Here's what's interesting to me. There's one in here that all 5 of us clearly have, which I did not think would make it this high.
Yeah, I'm sure I know.
But
what
I
it
know
is.
Rich, and I know that me and you are going to agree on probably the placement of
Well,
it.
no, well, it's to some degree. So the reason I say that is that this is one of the, you know, I'm pro ranking things, and I will make the argument for being able to compare anything to anything, but genuinely I hold all 5 of these films close to my heart, and I could, if I had to, I could cut the rest off and just keep these 5 films as all of Star Trek if I had to.
If I said that same sentence you just did, it would be the top 3 for me.
Okay.
The other 4 and 5, if you said I could only take 3 movies on the desert island of Star Trek.
No, I want all 5. I need all 5.
4 and 5, well, you may not get a
I'd
choice
take-
if you're throwing on the
I know.
desert island.
I'd happily take my top 10.
So my number 5 is The Voyage Home. Yeah, I knew that would be a thing for you, Ian, because I know it's possibly your number 1. I love it. I don't know what else to say. I really love it. It's simply that for me, it's a little too light compared to the others. It isn't that I dislike it. I love it. I've watched it dozens and dozens of times. I can quote it. I can talk along to the voyage home. I love the conceit. I love the sci-fi idea. I love the whales. I love the performances. I love the script from Bennett and Nick Meyer. We can ignore everyone else that's credited. It's got some of my favourite things, like we are computing our trajectory at this time, and all that stuff. And just the moment, one of my favourite bits in all of Star Trek is when they're in crisis. There's an energy crisis. They've got no power. But so there's a message coming through. I think it's Admiral Cook. Divert all power to that message, which is like, ooh! And I love that. And I love the fact that Brock Peters is really good, and he's called back in 6, of course, but he's very effective in that Commander of Starfleet role. The most effective person I think I've seen in that role. The fact you have Sarek back. I love John Shook as the Klingon ambassador at the beginning, giving a sort of oddly, he seems blustery and and then you realise, but he's probably the nicest Klingon you're ever going to meet. I love so much about it. I love the comedy on the planet. It's the best Scotty is in anything for me. It's Sulu, Chekhov, Uhura. They all get great stuff to do. Yeah, I mean, I've run out of things to say about it because I could be here all day just talking about how much I love it. But it's just that it's not quite as impactful in a sort of weighty gravitas way as the next 4 for me. Ian.
All right. I was going to comment, but I'll save my I'm going to save my powder till I forgot what the hell the analogy is.
Keep your powder dry.
My number 5 is the motion picture.
So I thought you were going to put way lower.
Same.
I thought I was too, but I'm doing this list partly as favorite and partly as importance.
Me too.
Within the context of the franchise, and we might not be having this conversation without the motion picture. So and honestly, there's a good story buried along all the boring parts of the motion picture. I watch it and it's literally like molasses dripping down the screen. It is slow as
very
fuck.
Sparkly molasses.
Yeah, sparkly, slow fucking molasses. And I like what I see. I other than the costumes, the whole thing feels like baby powder was spilled on more colorful costumes. But it serves its purpose. And yes, we all love, fetishizing the Enterprise early on. I love the sets in this movie. I think we've had this conversation covering some of our other conversations, but it is painfully slow, and that is my biggest issue with it. Again, I don't mind talk. I don't mind a liquid pace as opposed to a frenetic pace, but I like my liquid to move a little faster. Downhill, not uphill, if you will. So motion picture is 5 for me. I think we've discussed the motion picture in the past as well. Yeah. So I'm not going to sit here.
I'm keeping my one short on that.
Yeah. So I'm not going to sit here and knock the film, other than the fact that it's slow. It's actually a good story and a good movie. So there you go. And again, let me reiterate, and this was something else we've addressed. Director's cut.
Yes.
Is absolutely the way to go.
I don't think about the other versions.
If anybody says to me, well, I'm getting familiar with Star Trek and I heard the motion picture wasn't very good, I would say, go watch the motion picture. Get the director's cut.
Latest version, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. My number 5 is Search for Spock.
Oh.
Similarly, I think what you said, and that this 5 for me, Rich, is I'd happily watch all of these. I think it was upon reflection. I think I had the similar thing with Christopher Lloyd. When I first saw this, I wasn't that keen on that character, Krug. Oh, is it Krug or Krug?
I believe it's Krug.
Krug.
Right. Yeah. But once I've sort of watched it a few more times, I actually appreciate that performance. It is a proper boo-hiss villain. But again, he is really memorable.
I have had enough of you.
Enough of you, yeah. But this film has got some of the most poignant and emotional moments in Star Trek, and I think that's probably why Rich is going to rank this higher. I also love the fact that it kind of ends in a proper original series way, in that it's just a fisticuffs fight on the edge of a cliff between Kirk and crew.
But how much more interesting is that than Kirk and Soren on the bridge?
But it's
right?
the same.
Visually, you've got fire, you've got shit happening. Mind you, the special effects and the sets are a little wonky, right? I mean, if you watch it closely, you could tell you're watching, all nuts and bolts and styrofoam. But it's so much more exciting than two older guys, running around a bridge in the middle of the desert.
I mean, that's why it's higher, but I still like that scene from Generations, and you're not going to change my mind on that. But I just wanted to say, the scene where they steal the Enterprise from Space Dock, Rich has mentioned this in a previous pod, it's one of the highlights of all of the movies. I love that whole bit, and I love that, what they get to do.
If I had to take one sequence, it's that.
Yeah. But that's my number 5.
Excellent. Well, I'll be brief on my number 4. It's Star Trek the Motion Picture. I would advise the listeners, if you haven't heard the episode number 1 and you wish to know my full, unadulterated, pornographic views of Star Trek the Motion Picture, go and listen to that. I love this film. I don't find it boring. I never had. I didn't when I was 6. I don't certainly now. I'm nearly 50. It is majestic, beautiful, epic, cinematic, grand, and lifts my soul every time I watch it. Ian, your number 4.
My number 4 is The Undiscovered Country. It's aged, in my opinion, the most of the Star Trek movies, actually. The politics were so of the moment that it does, a lot of politics are timely and things repeat themselves, and history obviously repeats itself. But this is a Cold War movie, and it's meant to feel like a Cold War movie. It was incredibly timely in the moment, at the time. Now it does, like I say, feel a little bit dated. But the performances in this movie from pretty much all of the cast, right? But especially our guest characters are terrific in it. I will acknowledge, Kim Cattrall didn't quite work for me in the movie, but I don't know that the character worked on paper. So that being said, I don't know that the actor was able to do much with it. I don't know that she could transcend the material with her performance. So I don't necessarily blame Cattrall for it. But it's a fascinating movie. It is well done. It is beautifully shot. The cinematography in it is often overlooked. It's wonderful to watch that movie on a big screen. It really is. And I just thought that it ended really well. We got Captain Sulu. I remember being thrilled by that, because we've been rooting for this character to not just have something to do, but to have Kirk acknowledge it. And for that,
you mean
moment
Shatner acknowledge it?
To have Shatner acknowledge it, for that to play out as beautifully as it did. And say what you will about Shatner, he sold that moment for George and for Sulu.
Yeah, agree.
Right?
Yeah, totally.
To the point that they're not on the screen at the same time. That's probably a moment that helped, where the actors were not in the same room.
Shatner's best chemistry seems to be with people he never shares the scene with directly.
Yes. Yes, Montalban, another case in point. But I just think it's a really interesting, rousing movie. Again, could that one have been a TV movie? Yes.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
Is it the original cast's Insurrection? In many ways, yes. But it's a far superior movie than Insurrection. And it is, if I said I would take 4 movies with me on my desert island, it would definitely be number 4. I think that would be the one I would watch before any of the other 9, or if I needed to, if I was done on my island and I just had to off myself, I guess Section 31 would come in.
My number 4, which appropriately is Voyage Home. in the 4th spot. It's a fun outing for the original crew. I think for me, I think it's akin to some of the kind of more comedic original series episodes. I think there's lots of great one-liners. The fact that the cast all get something to do. I love the dialogue. I think the eco message is a little bit heavy-handed.
Nimoy did like that, though. He liked a nice heavy.
Yeah. But I forgive any shortcomings of the film for the fact that it just brings me a lot of joy because I just love these characters so much. But yeah, I'd happily watch it.
Excellent. Right, so my number 3 is Star Trek First Contact.
Also my number 3.
Ah, excellent. Right, so this is just a great movie. And as you can see from my list, for me, a big gulf between this and all the other Next Generation movies. This hit a height after Generations I didn't know if the Next Generation movies were going to be capable of doing with the same creative team as the shows. But it just was exciting, dramatic, interesting. In a weird way, I knew, given we knew it was the Borg going in because of the teaser poster as that dramatic angle of the cube chasing the Enterprise E. Not a full reveal, just that sort of backdrop so you couldn't quite see what it looked like. But because it opened and Jerry Goldsmith was coming back, and I knew that got me as excited as anything else, given that he did the title theme for Next Gen. But when you hear that opening music he does, which is wistful and melodic and almost a romance theme, that for me immediately slightly lifted it from the beginning, from the opening of the film, just the titles, where I was like, oh, this isn't going to be quite what I expected. And I felt like that all the way through. It could have just been all out, and it wasn't. There was nuance, there was thought. They addressed fundamental Star Trek issues. It was a good time travel idea and created a closed loop that didn't feel laboured, that didn't feel like it couldn't work, that it wasn't a canon fudge, that it felt really kind of beautifully executed and showed you something we'd always been curious about without feeling like a prequel. This is the thing with Star Trek. Why do we keep doing prequels when you could just go back in time with your crew and see something, can't you? You've done it before. And there's just beautiful moments. We've talked when we talked to John Eves again in terms of my ship thing. I love the E. From the second you see it at the beginning of that nebula, it's fantastic visual effects, fantastic execution. The interplay between Picard, Data, and the Borg Queen, and Alice Krieger as the Queen is just brilliant and icky and sexy, and all this lovely Freudian swirls, Freudian soup that is very, very well deployed. Great work from Braga and Moore on this one. Probably, I think, a career highlight writing. And Frakes just nailed the direction in a way which I think the tone shift of the movie might have changed the tone of the actors' performances, but because it was Frakes directing and his knowledge and friendship with the actors, I think that helped keep everyone on an even keel, and everyone got to shine through to some degree. Gates didn't as much.
Gates is the one who's most forgotten. Yeah,
she's sort of sacrificed a bit, which is a shame, but thankfully Picard season 3 redressed that. So overall, this is just the only possible criticism I'd have. It's probably a tad long, and sometimes goes for the audience punching the air moments one too many times, like assimilate this, but that's nitpicking. I
love that moment. I'm one of those people punching the air.
So that no, but as I say, that's nitpicking. It was a wholly satisfying Star Trek experience, and easily one of the most cinematic Star Trek movies.
As this is my third spot, do you want me to go in ahead of you?
Sure. Go ahead.
The only thing I would say to add to that is when we talked about the Borg, we spoke a lot about First Contact, but I actually wanted to highlight the stuff that is going on the planet as well, because I think that's actually a really interesting and engaging story, and it adds some of humour to the kind of
Barclay's moment was wonderful with Cochrane.
Yeah, I like the bit where Troy gets drunk. and like
We don't
it's taken
have
an
the
age.
time.
It's time to talk about time. Yeah. So that was the only thing that I wanted to add to that. I agree with everything that you said. I put it's dark, it's sexy, it's thrilling, it's funny. What's not to like?
My number 3 is The Voyage Home.
Oh, I thought you were gonna pitch in at number 1.
Surprised us both.
No. It's good sci-fi. It's good Star Trek. The visual effects are incredible. I love the cameos. We got to see Grace Lee Whitney again. We got to see Majel Barrett again. I appreciated, although it was too on the nose and too much of it, the environmental angle. I have my little issues with it. I thought the volleyball as the alien reaching out to the whales was a little visually silly.
Hard to do, though. Apparently that tube was really hard to execute. To give it depth.
Maybe. And I think
just
I've
spinning
mentioned
on
this
a bit
before.
Of string, isn't it?
Yeah. When they do the time travel with the loopy FX, that whole weird sequence with rotating images.
One of the weirdest bits in Star Trek.
A little too surreal, didn't quite work for me. But, you did
a little bit too much LDS.
Yeah, a little too much. But lines like that were great. The pizza sequence, right?
Shatner's never more charming than in that sequence.
Never more charming, and it's just so funny and entertaining and light. Don't forget where we parked. There are bits in that movie that I love. Transparent aluminum. That whole scene cracks me up to this day. Computer. Very funny.
How quaint.
Do you not think that Scotty would have said aluminium, though?
Yes, this is true. The bird of prey in the water. That whole sequence was fabulous. Spock swimming with the whales.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Right? The stuff at the beginning when he's Spock again. Right?
Yeah.
How do you feel? So much of the movie works for me. Nuclear vessels, just lots of fun. The whole San Francisco set scenes are really cool. Very 1985, 86, when it was shot and released. But I think that adds to the charm of it.
Yeah, just the windscreen wipers in the helicopter with Sulu. It's just lovely little beats.
Yeah. There's just so much that's right about this movie.
Yeah.
It is pure entertainment. It was exactly the antidote that you needed after 3, right? So it is that high on my list. But I will say that there are 2 other movies that are slightly higher for their Star Trek content versus their entertainment content.
Interesting. Fair enough. So in which case, this is where obviously I wasn't going to go all the way to the top with this one, but my number 2 is The Search for Spock.
Wow.
Yep.
I knew you'd rate this highly.
I'm very aware that this goes against the grain of a lot of Trekkers thinking.
And podcast co-hosts.
Indeed. Yeah, but you weren't that hard on it, really. I've never understood this feeling like an episode. I don't know if it's when I saw it. I don't know whether it was just in the continuity of the 4 films that I saw it as part of.
Had you started watching the show by now?
No.
By the 3rd film? No, so it literally was the 3rd experience.
Yeah, I started watching the original series just before I saw The Voyage Home.
Okay, right.
So for me, it didn't feel drawn out. It didn't feel forced. I was really young when I saw it. There's no denying that. But it felt so of a piece with Wrath of Khan. And it contains, as you said, Toby, the word you used, some of the most poignant things in Star Trek for me. The destruction of the Enterprise, my God, Bones, what have I done? What you had to do, what you always do. Turn death into a fighting chance to live. And the death of David. Merritt Buttrick, I think, is better in 3 than he is in 2, actually. I loved Robin Curtis's Savick. Again, yes, very different from Kirstie Alley, but I just really love her portrayal of the character. The effects are a bit chintzy, but the truth is, I think that if you were my age when all these movies, its effects are of its time. They're not cheap, they just are of that time. And what they were trying to do, the destruction of a planet and pieces of land coming up, they were never going to do it brilliantly. But I love the tying of Spock to the life cycle of the planet, the dying planet, the accelerated. It's a conceit, but it's a beautifully logically plotted out. I preach this whenever I lecture screenwriting. If you set up your rules and you follow them through, the audience will go with you, and Search for Spock does that. You understand what's happening, and yes, it's just to get you, Leonard Nimoy, back at the end, but it's beautifully done and explored. And I love how that ties to David and David's fate, and Shatner falling over on the bridge, like Klingon bastard, you killed my son. That's very sad and poignant, and to be honest, it's just the ending just leaves me. It's the polar opposite. It's literally from the end of Wrath of Khan, but it leaves me just sat. I just sit there with my thoughts every time I watch it. When you have him say, "Jim, your name is Jim," and Shatner's face beams, and they flood round him, and the human adventure continues. I'm like, yes, it does. And I've said it before, it's the best Uhura for me. Nichelle gets a lot of good work to do in this, and she feels has more agency and is more dynamic than she's often allowed to be. The comedy between McCoy and Shatner is great. And interestingly, I don't feel the absence of Spock because he's there. And he's meant to be in a sort of spectral way, and I've always felt that. And crucially, at the heart of it, the stealing the Enterprise sequence is, for me, the best representation of the crew doing what they do together against the odds, with a brilliant James Horner score, beautiful Enterprise visual effects, beautiful space stock. And in reality, when you look at it now in current stakes, especially if you look at the spectacle of the Abrams of the Bad Robot era, it's actually very small action, but it feels huge. And that's, to me, the centre of it. So I understand it's a lot lower for a lot of people for many reasons, which, again, I wouldn't try and debunk. But for me, it's just, when I think of Star Trek, I think of two films, and this is one of them. Yeah.
My number 2 is First Contact. First Contact was just a great use of our TNG crew that we loved, brilliant special effects. They took a TV villain in the Borg and turned it into a cinematic villain of weight and consequence, and, as you said, sexiness and ickiness, and just so well done by Alice Krige and Brent Spiner and Patrick Stewart. I just thought fascinating stuff with what they did there. There were moments of that movie that are scary, that are thrilling, that literally make you cheer at the screen. Again, seeing this on a silver screen works, where they, Worf is out on the ship, right? Was an unbelievable sequence, the saucer sequence. I remember watching them film that sequence at Paramount, and it was on one of their largest stages with an absolutely massive set. It was so cool. And
Did you get to walk on the hull of the Enterprise?
No, it was up in the air. It really was. No, it was up in the air on the hull.
Oh, right.
You couldn't. They literally had to get them up there. But it was just such a good, fun, rousing, interesting movie, but still very much Star Trek. It didn't oversell anything in terms of environment, or the messages were subtle in this one, because they were just trying to make a big rolling entertainment of a movie. And then they also had fun with it. Oh, it's this is a Star Trek, right? Using Ooby Dooby in the movie was the right touch. And we only heard it the once. We didn't need to see it again in another movie like Sabotage. I just thought they played all their cards beautifully well in it. I thought the guest actors in it were particularly good.
Alfred Woodard is outstanding.
Alfred Woodard was terrific. Gave and took from Patrick Stewart at the same time. Those characters were terrific. James Cromwell was just entertaining as hell. Just a super fun, interesting, entertaining Star Trek movie. I think it was the one of all of the movies that appealed to fans and non-fans. It worked for both audiences, which is why it was such a big hit. As much as I say, for argument's sake, like Beyond, okay? Beyond was affected by Guardians of the Galaxy. Execs at Paramount literally said, we need to make our version of Guardians of the Galaxy. That's why some people didn't find it as Star Trek-ish as it could have, would have, and in my opinion, should have been, because it was trying to dip into another well. But First Contact did that and did it successfully.
Agreed. Tobes.
Well, talking about what Star Trek means to you, my number 2 is the slow motion picture.
Woo!
I accept all of your complaints. I don't care. This to me is proper science fiction. I love it.
I agree.
I absolutely love it. I compare this to, not exactly the same, but another film which is in my top 10 of all-time favourites is 2001: A Space Odyssey.
It's of that ilk,
and no one complains that that's fucking slow.
Oh, it is.
But it is slow.
It is, no question.
But
So
no
silent
one
running.
compares about it.
So
Yeah.
silent running.
So it
'Cause it's so
does
silent.
not bother me whatsoever. This is the kind of stuff that made me fall in love with science fiction in the first place. I did see it on the big screen. I'm going to give you my one complaint, which you've already mentioned, and it's the costumes, because the costumes are absolute shite.
And the colour of shite in some cases.
Yeah,
How do we
they
shite
really
them?
are. Yeah. But yeah, I love this. When the 4K, when they remastered that, I was the first, and I saw it on the day of release. The only person in the cinema.
Me too.
And so yeah, I'm happy. I've got the special edition up there, the 4K special edition.
Me
I've
too.
watched it again, at least twice on that.
Me too.
Yeah. I was actually surprised he wasn't higher in your list. I thought we would be exactly the same.
No, it's for the reasons I gave, which is this 5 from Voyage Home down. I want them all. I love them all. But
I mean, I would say this is almost tied with my number 1, which we've all got the same number 1.
yeah.
Might as well just
Okay.
admit
Well,
it.
we can
But
segue.
it's very close behind my number 1.
I can't say
I
that.
love the motion picture.
I think, because we've alluded to this before, and again, if anyone wants to hear a lot more about some of the top films in this, we have talked about them before at various points. But obviously, our shared number 1, sadly, very predictably, is The Wrath of Khan. I think it is, and this is not to repeat myself, but I am going to repeat myself. It's because, as much as I love all the others as well, this is the only one which I'd be prepared to say is a good film in and of itself, regardless of what it's part of. I think that if someone was to say to me, I have to watch one film of Star Trek, this is the film. And I would give no equivocation, I would give no justifications, I would just be very happy to go, this is a well-made, well-scripted, well-acted, just fantastic piece of drama that happens to be set in space. And for that sense, for me, it slightly transcends the rest. I love all of them, but it is a league above in terms of the drama and the movie making. Genuinely for me, so there's never any doubt, and it just so happens to also be my favourite. This is the piece of Star Trek I've watched more than anything else. Motion picture is second, actually, in terms of frequency of viewing, but this I watched on repeat with a selection of other films, and that's the key. Other films, not just Star Trek, other films. Wrath of Khan, Ghostbusters, Back to the Future, Superman, Star Wars. It lifted above just the love of Star Trek, and I don't mean to say that in a pejorative way. I don't mean it like that. I mean, I love Star Trek, but it's just that little bit more meaty. And I will take anyone to task who claims that it's not a great piece of filmmaking, that it's just good Star Trek. No. Wrath of Khan is a brilliant piece of work with career best stuff from virtually everyone involved. Shatner is never better anywhere in anything ever. Nimoy's is brilliant as well, and the final scene between those two is career highlight stuff. D. Kelly is amazing in it. Some of the other characters get better work later, but they still have that sense of unity as a crew, and no one feels compromised through anything they do in Wrath of Khan, as they do in Undiscovered Country, say. And it's a triumph of context. Save the franchise, make it for less money. Hire a TV producer who didn't really know Star Trek. Hire a writer-director who doesn't really know Star Trek. And what's going to happen? No one could have predicted it would be the franchise watermark. So,
interestingly, in terms of box office, it didn't actually make more money than the motion picture.
No, but it was more profitable.
Yes, no, I agree with that. But yeah, just in terms of pure box office numbers.
Or if you adjust, motion pictures incredibly successful. Most before the Abrams films. But yeah.
Yeah, the Abrams films blow everything out of the water.
They do in terms of money.
Particularly internationally.
If you add the box office, for the Abrams films up, the 3 films, I think it beats about half. It's about 2/3 of all the others put together.
Yeah, which is
crazy.
Yeah, different era though, isn't it? Again, and Star Trek, as Ian just said, Star Trek until Abrams struggled internationally, always.
Agreed.
Compared to the US.
I mean, before you go in, I think the only thing that I would add to that, because I don't really have all that much more to say to it, is the end sequence with Spock and Kirk. It made me bawl my eyes out when I was a kid.
Still does now.
And it still makes me cry now, even though I've seen it so many times. And, being the heartless bastard that I am, that as you've mentioned in previous episodes, very little does that these days. I don't cry at much, but that one will always get me.
If you want me to define what I think dramatically friendship looks like, it's that scene.
Do you have anything to add, Ian?
Yes. Star Trek II is far and away my favorite of the Star Trek movies. As much as I love The Voyage Home and First Contact, Khan is it for me. I had the poster on my closet door in my little tiny room in my house on Long Island until my mom moved in, I think it was 2000. So, that room was literally kind of like the glasses to Kirk in Star Trek 2. I love pretty much every element of the movie, from Khan as a character to, because it wasn't beaten, to a pulp at this point, him being angry at Kirk. Also, that was a bit more personal than being angry at the Federation. He had a personal thing.
The motivation's way better.
Right. He has actual motivation for being left behind, all of that. I thought was great. But there were moments in it that I love. The apple sequence, where Kirk is eating the apple and he's like, okay, let's go, right? He's got this trick up his sleeve. And, the apple's a throwback to the apple. So it's just a nifty little thing, but it's Kirk's arrogance, his brilliance, his timing, the reason he's a captain, all of that. I love the Kirk-Spock scenes. I think are hugely important. Particularly the line where he says, I would not remind you of that which you know so well. Is such a good line, and so fitting for the brotherhood between these two characters. I love the moment with McCoy and Kirk, where they're talking literally about the glasses, right? And aging and all of that. It's just a beautiful moment. And then the whole paradox of time travel, when they go back to the 80s, Kirk knows he's going to get those glasses back. How cool is that? Just as a science fiction concept. I just always thought that was great. I liked the bit of violence in it, where the corpse kind of falls over and Riga hasn't even set in yet. It just felt real in the moment. I remember seeing it how old was I when that came out? 82. I was 18. So it was probably right before I went to college that I saw that movie. And I watched it again in preparation for this, and it holds up beautifully. Paul Winfield is unbelievably good in the movie. The way he reacts in that whole crazy sequence with the SETI eels is that whole scene is terrifying, right?
Yeah.
And again, all done on a very low budget. If I remember correctly, the movie cost $12 million.
Yeah. It's like it cost a third or less than motion picture, didn't it?
Oh, I believe it cost. I think the final cost of the motion picture was 60 or 70 million.
Yeah.
Again, in fairness, they folded in all of the undeveloped projects into that budget, but that's beside the point. Genesis, the concept of Genesis project was just super interesting. There's very little that I don't like about the movie. B.B. Besh, we should absolutely mention B.B. Besh. I thought, again, I like Shatner, and this is one of the instances where another important character other than the regulars has an impact on Kirk in the movies. And I think she, frankly, is the most effective of any female character in the movies. God, Dr. Taylor was terrific in Star Trek IV, right, as a character. But she brought out a fun, entertaining side, romantic side, playful side, charming side of Kirk, whereas B.B. Besh brought out the paternal, wounded pride side of the character, the I see through your bullshit end of the equation when it came to Kirk. I could go on and on, like you, Rich, about the reasons I like Khan, and I'm surprised you're surprised that it was my number one. Only because, gravitas is an important thing. Entertainment is huge, but so much of why Star Trek is important to me is because it's about something. It's the difference between Star Trek and Star Wars.
Absolutely right.
Star Wars was always entertainment with some family and drama stuff in it. Star Trek is the exact opposite of that.
Yeah, for the mind. Well, there you go. That was a long route to get to consensus over what we think is the best Star Trek movie, and the fitting the existing canon. The Wrath of Khan is a standout. But again, what do you think? Please let us know. Contact us in any of the ways in the episode description for what.
Where
you
would
think.
you place the motion picture?
Yes, where would you indeed?
Yeah.
That's the yes.
That's
Who's right
the
and
big
wrong
one.
about the
That's
motion
the
picture?
takeaway.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
So, thanks again for joining us for this episode, and we'll see you soon beyond the final frontier.
Peace, love, and logic, everybody.
Thanks for listening to Beyond the Final Frontier, a Star Trek podcast with Rich Matthews, Ian Spelling, and Toby Weidman. If you want to get in contact with us, you can email us on beyondffpod@gmail.com or check us out on social media. You can even join our Patreon at BFF Beyond the Final Frontier. Huge thanks go out to Alex Weidman for the brilliant original music. Please search Alex Weidman Composer on YouTube to hear the full fantastic theme and more. Also thanks goes to award-winning voiceover artist Cissy Jones for our excellent opening monologue. Find out more about her incredible work at cissyjones.com. And of course, last but not least, our brilliant artwork comes from the designer Russell Seal. Discover more of his work on behance.net/Russell Seal. Thanks again, and see you next episode, Beyond the Final Frontier.